Hey guys, welcome back to American Gothic. We are up to episode 11, so this is pretty much exactly halfway through all the episodes that they made. This one is Merlin heavy, which I really like. I think I kind of missed her in the other episodes. We haven't seen her in a little bit, and I think she's a really nice kind of juxtaposition to Sheriff Buck and that kind of thing. She's like kind of innocent, and she always has like the lighter colored lighting and the white dress and stuff. So yeah, I think she's a good addition to the show, and I like Sarah Paulson, so that's fun too. Yeah, so here we get to kind of see a little bit more about how she feels. So in the little pre-credits moment, we have Kayla being picked on by some local like teens who are down by the river, and there's just a guy in from out of town. We find out later his name is Ray, but it's Danny Masterson from that 70s show. So he's so young. And Merlin comes to comfort Caleb, and she's kind of frustrated because she can't help him, and it's not his fault that people are sort of being mean to Caleb. And Danny Masterson thinks that Caleb is responding to him because he can't see Merlin. And so Merlin's kind of touched by Ray's, protecting her brother, and she admires his like sort of motorcycle and stuff like that. So he's, I don't know, he's funny because he's just like got the denim jacket and the like longer hair, and like it's curly. It's very 90s. And I know I say that pretty much every episode, but anyway. But the sheriff at the start was watching the whole thing, so I don't think he knew up until this episode that Merlin was kind of still around in some way. So that's news to him. We get a different opening credits for this as well. We get there's like a little bit of music, but it's mostly Merlin's voice saying like someone's at the door. Like it's kind of more of a sort of montage, and the sheriff explains the show to us like in voiceover, kind of from his perspective. Kind of annoyingly, we get some later plot points given away, but I think this was one of the episodes that I think was shown out of order, so that might be why the credits are different. But anyway, so yeah, this is a nice weird episode. Gail has a friend in from out of town called Christy, and she's pregnant, very heavily pregnant, and yeah, she's had like 3 miscarriages before, and she's a little bit like, she's really happy that this baby's like healthy, but she's also kind of worried because she's had those miscarriages. She's like, has that fear that it could happen again. And Merlin kind of blows in and out at the start of the episode, quite literally, because she's having some strong feelings. She's feeling pretty distressed. She just has that very teen thing of, it's not fair. It's not fair that she's dead. It's not fair that their lives were ruined, and that she can't sort of feel things. But you can tell that some of it is that she never got to be a normal teenager as well. So, I think that's a fair complaint. Yeah, so just like something I noticed in one of these early scenes is that, so when Caleb initially goes to this boarding house, there's this lady there, and her name's Loris, and she's awarded custody of him. And now the person that plays Rose's mom, so like one of the little girl that he hangs out with sometimes, her mom seems to be running the boarding house. So I guess that scene where Loris was choking, he just killed her. Like, maybe, like, I just don't really get what happened there. But anyway, maybe we'll find out. I don't know. But anyway, so Christy ends up having like some kind of an attack of some kind, and goes to hospital. And we see Merlin kind of hanging around. There's a really great little scene at this point where Caleb is at school, and he's in art class, and all the kids are painting this vase of flowers, and it's like sunflowers or something, and so they all have these bright kind of colors, and Caleb's just painting this like black, like this blackened ruin basically, and like he's just like he's painting what he sees. It's just funny. I feel like I feel like there was always that kid at school who was like that. Anyway, we hear Merlin's voice in this scene, and she's like, "I'm on my way," and Caleb's kind of like, "What?" And then the sheriff just appears and is like, "Who are you talking to?" So he knows something is up. You can't really get much past Sheriff Buck, to be fair. We have a quick scene where the sheriff makes a deal with Ray, and like Ray's basically, needs gas money and he has no way to earn it, and so he makes a deal with the sheriff. So you just gotta have one of those in each of these episodes, right? Somebody has to make a deal with the sheriff. Yeah, and then Merlin turns up at the boarding house in a real body, and she's got the 90s flannel shirt over a white t-shirt with the jeans, like Angela Chase approved outfit, It's funny. She has breakfast with them, and there's this like cute moment where she's just eating really quickly because she hasn't tasted food in ages, and the people at the boarding house are kind of asking some questions about, she's got some story about losing her clothes and money. It's Sarah Paulson, so it's the same, like, the implication is that she just looks like herself. She hasn't taken somebody else's body, so we don't at this point know how she got there, but she's pretty sure that because she never really went out, because she was kind of catatonic a lot of the time before, like she thinks no one's going to recognize her around town. And she hints that she can't stay for long. She and Caleb have some like fun times hanging out and playing hide and seek and stuff, which is cute. But it's funny because she has this like meet cute moment with Ray on a boat, and she just ditches Caleb, and I'm like, that's such a classic teenage sister move. But anyway, Caleb's not impressed with that. He's like, if you're here, you should be hanging out with me, which is kind of a valid point, but this girl never got to go on a date, so I kind of understand her perspective to some extent. There's a kind of sense a little bit later on from something that she says to Ray that she is kind of undecided about whether she can stick around. But she goes on like a really cute date with Ray, stuff like that. The sheriff's like super interested in her, so he ends up threatening Ray with like, and wants Ray to basically like spy on Hallie, but Ray actually has feelings for her, which is, they're really cute, these two. Meanwhile, Gail's friend Christy, she's at the hospital and she's told the baby may not be okay, and I guess by this point we kind of know that somehow Merlin has used Christy's baby's like spirit to kind of manifest herself somehow, but in her mind she's just kind of borrowing the life force, but obviously it's having like real effect on Christy. And yeah, the doctor tries to be very comforting and encouraging of Christy, but he's like, we have to induce pregnancy, so it's quite serious. There's a moment where the sheriff wants to talk to Caleb, and he's basically just trying to undermine Caleb's trust in Hallie and Merlin. I don't know if he's kind of 100% yet figured out they're the same person, but he probably has. Oh no, he would have, because he knows what Merlin looks like. So yeah, so he pulls over to talk to Caleb, and he goes for a walk with him, and he just parks his car like half on the street and just half out into the street. Just goes for a walk with him. It just found it funny. It's just like a very Sheriff Buck, like, he owns the town. Yeah, so Caleb ends up confronting Merlin because he's like, how are you able to be here, and like, what are you not telling me and stuff, and Merlin is able to give him like a vision of the past to remind him that the sheriff is like a very bad guy and just likes to undermine people. She has more dates with another date with Ray. But yeah, and he asked her to run away with him and meet her on the bridge at midnight, and they're gonna run away into the sunset. But Caleb's figured out that Christy's baby the situation there is strange, and he kind of figures out that Merlin has done something. He confronts her, but she's like, "But I'm in love," and like storms out of the house. The sheriff stops Ray from leaving and ends up taking him to Merlin's grave and makes him dig up the grave, and her corpse is like in the coffin. It's all kind of green. It's pretty dark. So I don't know what's gonna like happen to Ray, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of the end of him for the episode. But he's just like screaming and stuff. So I guess he and Merlin are probably over at this point. So yeah, Merlin goes to wait for Ray on the bridge, and he turns up, but she kind of realizes she's made the wrong decision, and then Ray, like, his face morphs. It's very Buffy, and he's actually the sheriff. So he tries to convince her to stay, but Merlin realizes that it's all like, if she stays, the baby dies, Caleb will hate her, and like it's selfish. Like, obviously she doesn't want to kill a baby, but on top of that, you know, the sheriff's motives aren't exactly pure. So he wants Caleb to hate her, and he tries to stop her, but she jumps off the bridge and the baby lives, and it's just drama this episode. So yeah, that's episode 11. It's nice to see a little bit more of how Merlin feels, because I like that because she hasn't passed on and she's like there to watch over Caleb, she still has like teenage feelings and emotions and stuff. I just think that's like a nice touch, because you would think that she'd just be at peace and that would be fine. But yeah, so that is episode 11. On to episode 12.